Of course, the command trailer, you said you wanted to skip over that for right now.
The items that we have, of course, office supplies, 1,300.
Right.
It's done us well. Fuel has done us well historically. Tires, really an issue. And the minor equipment item has been add-ons that you have normally used for what?
This past year, or this budget year, we bought the new monitors, the double monitors. I had looked into a desk scanner specifically. Haven't done anything about that yet.
So it is mainly minor equipment within your office?
Yeah, within our office,
that has been
within my
used.
office, that one.
Okay. Discussion on conference and education. What you
think
just
that-
you
I think that
had
is-
a emergency management conference this year.
Yes.
What other conference and educations are on the forefront?
Probably the particular one that one covers, I will have to go back to this next year simply because I was not able to complete the one from this year. That's only a partial. So that's pretty
Right.
indicative of the whole
Okay.
situation. Dues and subscriptions, that comes mainly under Texas Water Development Board if we decide to certify on floodplain certificates. That's just kind of been an amount that we've left there in case we decide to do that. There's no advantage to us right now to do that. Advertising and publication, that's the big item is for our Skywarn that we have to do every single year for the public. We rotate that. Sometimes we get better prices, sometimes we don't. Sometimes we have to also pay for, if there's a particular public notice that we have to publish regarding some special event or something that, satellite cable services, publication, advertising and publication, I think that's a safe number.
Okay. Let's
Okay.
skip satellite and cable service. Well, no, let's don't. That is currently paying for,
The upstairs cable, strictly the cable, the emergency management cable. Now, Blake, we couldn't put it in the courthouse, so we put it upstairs in the room next to Michael.
okay,
And that's what it pays for.
okay,
Then vehicle maintenance, I'm probably a little above that number right now. I think they told me I was within maybe $60 out on that, of being tapped out on that.
that expense of 728 was in the maintenance of the charger, correct?
Partly the Charger and partly the Tahoe.
But is it safe to say the majority of that was because of the charger?
Safe to say that.
Okay,
Then the wireless internet. I don't have a MiFi, but that's something right there that could be clearly put with the command trailer item, the Wi-Fi for that.
okay,
And that's why we've left it separate,
okay,
because it's an approved item just by the state in and of itself. Copier expense is a lease, and that's pretty accurate, I think.
right. Okay. The reason we went through those before we started discussion on the trailer was to knock out if we had any questions on those. Anyone on those four? Yes, sir.
You said on office supply, that amount has done us well, but unfortunately, you're only looking at 19 up there. When you go back and look at 2018, 17, 16, office supplies been a lot lower than $1,300. Not that you don't need $1,300, Joy, I'm not saying.
No,
I just see the numbers were real low, and now it's real high.
burn rate doesn't match what's been budgeted is the point, if I might.
That is the
add,
point.
The only thing that traditionally we've kept that number, if we have a long activation or some, a multi-day activation, then there's a lot of, I don't keep surplus supplies on hand at all. That would be paid for under an activation if we had, something that was multi-layered and needed to actually establish stations within an EOC setting. So as far as me personally, I don't,
Right.
mine is in a supply cabinet that I keep separate.
The only thing that would have risen to that situation if we would have had it then would have been way back to the Katrina event.
Oh,
Is that
absolutely.
correct?
That and more.
Okay, and in the event, office supplies is not a part of the MPG grant, is it?
Yes,
Well, you get reimbursed for some of that.
The expenditure? Only the expenditure of?
right, not the
Okay.
total.
For only half of that.
And it is done on the, when we report, it's on the burn, it's on the expenditure.
Correct.
Given an emergency situation, we would increase funding and we would still get reimbursed even if it wasn't as high as it is now, written in here. It's not based off the budget we pass, it's based off of the money we spend.
Correct. Provided we haven't exceeded our percentage, is it?
It's a percentage.
Yeah.
Okay. Then I would dare say that Commissioner's point is well taken. The fact that could cut that to 500.
568, you could cut it to
Thoughts,
800.
gentlemen, on this side? Any thoughts?
Well, I mean, historically, there's $800 there.
800.
I mean, $800 extras, because I mean,
Right.
557 to 300.
Okay. 600 work for everybody? 6. Change that one to 6, please, ma'am. Another item? Okay, let's roll our discussion into,
I
Pardon?
could say something, but I think the $600 is a waste of money. It sets up there in a room that's only used to hold IT meetings and various other meetings. I don't think it's ever been turned on.
are you talking about the wireless? What do you,
The cable TV.
cable services, okay, on down.
I don't know if there's an edict that we have to have cable TV. Quite frankly, I have no problem with the TV set. Josh has TV sets all over the building. I think we should put a regular broadcast TV and run a cable to it, and we can listen to what's going on in Tyler and swing it around and listen to what's happening in Dallas. It would make a heck of a lot more sense than having the ability to watch Oprah on one of the cable channels upstairs. Not to say anyone's watching Oprah, but the capability is there. And the only reason we need that is for weather and local news. Correct?
Correct.
So, Suddenlink may be down at the same time as everyone else, but if we have our own antenna on the roof, we'll probably be able to pick up channels 56, 51, 19, 7, swing it around and pick it up from Dallas.
I mean, I just have just a basic home antenna in my house here in Athens, and I can pick up power stations.
Well, I'm just saying I live in a hole out at Lake Athens and I pick up channels 19, 51, 56, and I swing my antenna around and I can pick them up.
This could be the home antenna I had too.
Yeah.
We didn't get it.
One of those antennas runs a little under $200, a good digital antenna. Isn't that about right, Josh, or do you know?
It's a one-time cost.
The last
to
time
do
I
an
looked at
antenna.
it, right. Do we know what the basic package is that we're paying for, what it provides? Does anybody know?
I think it's basically, actually Jane wanted to tell us it's just a very basic cable. But that's also reimbursed, or half of that's reimbursed on the nurse management grant that Cynthia and reporter as well. I'm just throwing that out there, but again, I couldn't tell you exactly what it has. I know it picks up channel 7, I do know that. I think the Dallas stations, but most of that.
Yeah, it's only going to pick up Dallas stations. It's not going to pick up anything that's going on over in Tyler. I am correct on that, Josh?
I mean, I don't have anything, so I can't be an expert on that.
No, I'm talking about the cable service. You're picking up non-Tyler stations. You're picking up Dallas stations for the local channels.
Well, that's your biggest one.
Yeah.
Now, you said Channel 7 is available
Yes, I know channel 7.
on that particular,
Yes, sir.
okay.
It's not a big deal, $600 a year. I just,
Well, let's leave it in there, and we will make provisions to see if we can implement that, because you are correct. I know with actual satellite, and we've discussed this several times, satellite goes out and we switch to aerial because it continues to function.
I'm just throwing this out there. I would think that if we did something like Mr. Vigil was talking about, that it's definitely something we could get reimbursed. Half of that reimbursed back on the
Right.
G grant up front, so another saving.
Okay.
I would think that we would be able to submit that.
We'll look into actually what we're receiving and also flesh out that aerial thought.
I appreciate it.
Okay. Yes,
That's actually gonna be about $715 a year.
what's that?
Like
Which one?
715, these cable.
Okay,
It looks like it went up, we're paying 59.64 right now. Last year, we paid 53, 57 to start the year off, and then it went to 57.09, and now it's 59.64.
okay.
I don't know why the change.
Maybe we should go out to bid.
We will definitely look into different option, but if we can, leave the 6 in it for now, if we can. Okay,
And now that vehicle expense, that is all on the top of it. All $750.
had a seat done, and
Tire
then,
sensors, mats, and
she's only had it a month and a half,
And I've had it since
2 months.
April, March, April.
I know that they did,
cruise control. The biggest part of that was tire sensors and cruise control.
okay.
Well, it sure is nice, in the new days, we've got to be able to sit there in the cockpit and know what our air temperature is, air pressure is in the tires. Back when I was young, that's back when I was probably in my 40s, I had to carry an air gauge and check them rather than having it flash up on the screen. Oh my,
Where,
makes me feel so old, Judge.
where did, I was looking at your expense breakout for that line item and it went away.
Talking about those tire sensors.
We can look at each one of these invoices if you want.
Bring up that first Barry's Automotive. That's what it says.
I didn't have that trick.
They replaced all 4 of them.
Right.
At the time, I was under the impression it was only 1. I didn't know it was all 4. Okay. Then that is all on the Tahoe. Good thing there shouldn't be any more. Okay, next Barry's Automotive. There's another tire monitor. Same one again.
I thought I chose the wrong one. Yes, I did. What is this one? So they probably wrote down.
Shane?
Yeah, I think it's just a breakdown. I think they.
Or 1820 and 6274.
Before 1820 was just the dark.
4 gauges,
Okay.
And then 162 is the
brake
brake,
controller thing.
and $3. I'm not sure if the $3 was. That was shop supply.
Yeah.
Shop supply.
Okay.
Says V.
In the, to seize the opportunity to move forward quickly and not belabor this laborious.
Wanted to be sure that I was that I understood, because my understanding was is that was most spent on the Charger. So
And now we find it's mostly spent on the Tahoe.
correct.
Well, I think that was sort of a one-time thing, $1,000. I mean, this one is tremendously over budgeted, or when we get to the fire marshal, his 5 vehicles and only having $3,000 for vehicle maintenance, his is terribly under budgeted. So I would like to say this one is over budgeted and cut it in half and let's move on. Because we know we won't have to buy those tire sensors again, and that was pretty expensive.
It's also 2011 with about 150,000.
That's my concern.
Well, then
I
maybe.
think the Charger was fixing to be way, way more than that because of transmission.
Transmission. Yeah. I would feel more comfortable keeping the 1,000 and being sure that we don't spend anything on these luxury items. Okay. Command trailer discussion. Joy, you went and looked at, we sent you the list of items.
Right.
And the concern is that, to rehash everyone, there was the regional communication exercise that took place about a month ago, and the deficiencies that were identified in the trailer, we're wanting to begin to take a look at correcting. It comes to the Wi-Fi, the admin side of the operations. We have already addressed those through procuring What, Josh?
We bought a new switch that's kind of the centralized portion of the trailer that everything connects to. So we brought that up to speed. You're looking at a switch that was probably manufactured 12 years ago. You know, if that's what you're relying on. It doesn't have some of the speed and throughput that you need to handle what we have now. So we replaced that first and foremost. We got a router for it, basically allow us to do some of the functionality, mostly because we want to be able to have, when they deploy, to be able to get back to the county network if they need to, just go to the web if they need to, or go to the state if they need to. So to try to diversify that, because most deployments for that trailer is not something they're going to be using the state side necessarily. At least that's not historically what's happened. So what we're looking at is if you're deploying it for assistance for tornado and it's not an emergency that's deploying for the state where you have all the phones on it, they can have it for the county side, deploy it, turn it on and good to go. So we also replaced the modem, which was, it's like a small box, it's like what you have on an ATM or a red box type of unit, and it gives a Verizon signal. It gets Verizon signal and it creates a Wi-Fi hotspot, whatever you call it, but it's not like a Wi-Fi hotspot which you throw it out and 5 people connect to it. It connects back into the system and routes everybody out to the building. So we updated that piece of equipment. The one that was in there was 3G. Now we're at 4G with LTE. You know those terms. 3G being the older speed, slower speeds. So we updated that. There is no service for that yet, but we made preparation for it because that piece is needed. And then we bought a Wi-Fi hotspot and access point actually, so that if you walk in that trailer, you have Wi-Fi like you have in the building. It'd be robust. And you have up to 250 people. It's
Right.
$79. I mean, it sounds bigger than what we paid for.
That's already been, what has been procured.
That's been bought. And the reason, and of course, the racking. We bought a rack to put in the trailers cabinetry that's in there. But we have not installed it because we're also looking at some other gear. Of course, radio gear is coming. They're talking about some other pieces that are needed for the trailer. I don't know how far you're going to go into this conversation, but we have some other pieces that we're going to need. It's kind of like that puzzle game that has one square missing and you have to move everything around to make it shift. I don't want to go there and mount a bunch of stuff and basically have to come back and shift all that around.
Right. But we have addressed that part of it. Now, there's some other areas that have not been addressed that we were wanting to discuss during this budget. Those being 4 all-in-one computers, correct?
I don't know, you can show the list.
It's just, I was going to end up touching and bringing the others in on it as well. 4 monitors and what else?
Can you go into your mail and put that?
No, I cannot.
Okay.
Just read off.
One smart TV.
One smart TV, one green light, and one antenna. And my question is addressing that with the EMPG grant and of those qualifying as reimbursable purchases.
The items that he had in that list, I looked up the AEL codes and they can either go under main, command trailer components, or some of those can stand individually as reimbursable equipment. So I didn't see anything. The list is large.
It's only about 6 or 7 items in what the Sheriff's Department, and you, Josh, I think you're cued in on it.
Correct.
I must have the wrong one because mine had,
She's got the list I'm looking at.
I've
Okay.
got 28 items on my list.
Okay?
When you're looking at,
These 100% reimbursable?
Not 100%,
Not 100.
no.
50%?
These are 50
It's
also.
50 or whatever the formula is for
Okay.
this year. I don't know what it is right now, but that's characteristically.
the first discussion, first and foremost, was radios, and so we can kind of skip over that for this list, of course, because of the radio system and the changes that are being made there. There was one, I'm going to say intelligent display, basically, instead of saying a smart TV. And what we mean by that is kind of an ability to be able to, John Madden, if you will, to write on the screen, enlarge a certain area, circle it, be able to screenshot that and send it out via email, so that if they're looking at a certain area and they get reports back along the lines of this is what we're looking at, the sheriff's office can zoom in on that spot, circle it, send it out to some officers. They can pull it up on their iPad, up on their cell phone. Fire departments, other agencies that are assisting, they can send that information out. So that was kind of the command post need. Of course, the mounts for those for that screen, and then they were looking at a couple of other large displays. And that's the number on that has kind of been up in the air, and the reason being is that that trailer that we have has cabinetry that's not going to be permitting to put displays where they really need them. So on one side where they have a short set of cabinets, the thought process is to remove that set of cabinets and be able to put larger displays there to be able to look across that. Of course, some mounts for those as well. The dispatchers, so initially the way that was set up, the trailer had 4 dispatch stations, 4 radios, if you will, and they're opposed. So you have one over here, one behind that, and one behind that. So, for instance, when they did that exercise, one dispatcher who did an amazing job had a radio with a handle that she's reaching across, back and forth. So we wanted to consolidate the 2 dispatchers on the one side, put them side by side. They would, of course, have like one of the all-in-one computers for the county, but they would also be looking at dispatch consoles for them as well. Kind of leading into your discussion, and this is what I was just thinking about a second ago when y'all were talking about the cable cost. They have satellite in that trailer, satellite TV, for Tyler. I guess it's Tyler major area or whatever it's considered. But there was a discussion about having a secondary satellite system put in that trailer. We talked about that recently. The reason being is you could have, again, like if you're assisting on the Kaufman County side, for instance, closer to the west side of the county, you could have a secondary, hopefully you could have the Dallas area. And so maybe instead of having a service for Suddenlink cable, maybe you could shift that towards something like that. Just a thought for those, for that extra money. Yeah, like you said, the green light that they needed for, they have a green light on the trailer, but it's on the back doors of the trailer. They need one on the side. So if the command, I guess they know if the command's active or not. Cabling, of course, there's going to have to be some cabling rerouted, redone, added in. New antennas, multi-antennas for the trailer, of course, for the new radio system. That's going to be included, hopefully, with the radio system purchase. But there was a mobile portable mast, and I'm not up to speed on all the mast part of it, but it included this one that was pneumatic, so they could lift it without having to manually do it. And basically, once you deploy that, there's a camera that goes on top of that. He was adding a camera onto that and being able to PTZ, hand tilt zoom that camera to control it and record it with an NVR. Some charging stations for iPads and mobile devices, which that wasn't a major purchase, but that was added in there too. And then, of course, interoperability for the radios, which, even though it's part of the radio discussion, it's more bound to the trailer side of it. And we had talked about 2 different units, one being a large prize tag unit that has some software that comes with it, and one being more of a visual, just 4-button system. The 4-button system is very simple, and initially, Albert, when we talked about it, he leaned toward the higher dollar system, but as he found out more about the NCS 250, which is the one that we currently have in the trailer, he likes the unit that's there and the simplicity of it. And if we were to consolidate both dispatchers side by side, they would be able to assist each other with the radios and being able to talk over the radio to whatever channel they're using, and be able to dial in and help. So if one of them is busy doing something else, the other one can help with that, assist with that. So we'd have to purchase one more of those NCS 250s. We have 2 in our possession, but one is also shared with, is that EdCog, or so, other than the fact that that one's somewhere in the building or whatever, it'd probably be in our best interest to buy one of those as well.
Do we have a total price on the proposed project?
And what he sent and kind of just, I tallied it up at $24,020. So
That's not counting the radio replacement, or that is
that's just
included?
counting the equipment I just mentioned. That's leaving out the radio part.
Okay, Ms. Kimbrough,
Mine was right about 25, so I don't,
well,
And
what I
that's-
was going to ask was the certainty of any reimbursement on this procurement.
again, our budget doesn't have to match what we apply for reimbursement, but I know there's a cap. I don't know what the cap is. It used to be, let's see if I can explain this correctly. If you have a $4,000 budget item and you spend $8,000, you're projecting that you get $4,000 back. Is that right, Anne Marie?
For,
So if we, say we had proposed under command trailer $4,000 in our budget, that's what we're gonna be out of our pocket on, then we actually spend $8,000 and submit that with the expectation of getting 50% of that back. It's a reimbursement grant.
that's not,
We don't know. I mean,
Okay.
the percentages change,
okay.
so, and I don't have a formula. for this.
Is there any way we can get this delineated as to what out-of-pocket expenditure that would not, the goal is to get 50% of it reimbursed. That's the goal.
That's the goal.
Now, to make this choice, we need some knowledge or some facts that will give the court some comfort that we will get some reimbursement. And I'm not getting that from this discussion.
The subrecipient agreements in the past have been, I think the max subrecipient agreement that the county judges signed off on has been to receive $79,000. I'm not sure of the exact amount, but it was in the area of $79,000.
Again, I'm still not getting any comfort that if the court agreed to do this type of expenditure, that we'll be receiving reimbursement.
I'm having Letitia contact the MPG people right now to see specifically what they're reimbursing.
Okay. Gentlemen, we've got the judges here for their 2 o'clock. I hope to readdress this later and continue this discussion. Any objections to doing that? And we will have more information before we present again on this. Okay?
That's fine.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Judge,
I think I'm it.
you're it.
Thank y'all. I didn't want to cut anybody off. I won't be long, I promise. Y'all have copies of my budget presentation? Or my budget letter? Spreadsheet? Anybody need a copy? Is this my seat?
Anywhere you like.
All right. And basically, Judge Perryman wanted to be here, as you know. I think y'all have seen the email. At least between the two of us, we sent out 850 jury summons, and I think she had 120 show up, and I had 73 show up. So we both had enough, but that should tell you something about our society. I get on my soapbox. You know, this has nothing to do with my budget, but when I first became a lawyer, I was surprised when people didn't show up for jury duty. And I really was, because I thought, well, people are supposed to show up. And now I'm surprised that they actually do. That should say something about our society. So sooner or later, I'm going to have to do something. I'm going to either issue show causes or something, because, you know, we're sending out 800 summons to have 100 and something people show up. That's just ridiculous. So anyway, we've got our jury picked, and we're bringing them back, but Judge Perryman apologizes. She's still in the middle of her jury selection. So I guess I speak for all the judges. This is basically the same request across the board that we had last year. And that is for the court coordinator And I know we did some studies, some salary studies last year, and that kind of showed that our court coordinators weren't making the salary commensurate with other coordinators across the state. And so, we're asking to take the court coordinators across the board, and this is just for the county courts at law and the district courts, from 40,000 and some change up to an even 45,000. They have to go to CLE, or say CLA, they have to go to professional development. They have a lot on their plates. And I was eating at Sue's Roost about 3 weeks ago, and I'm going to relate this. And I look over, and no offense against the JPs, and I see a JP there, and he's got 2 coordinators with him. And it dawned on me, this is my 12th budget presentation, my second as judge, that our JPs have 2 court coordinators? Right? Is that right? 2 court coordinators.
They're not both coordinators.
But I don't know what they
Budgetary.
do. District judges and the county courts at law, we handle the same kind of caseload, and we're running with 1. Then I look over at Tyler, where I used to prosecute. I always had a civil and a criminal. And many counties, they even have judges that are appointed that help judges. But here in our rural counties, it's just us. I mean, over in that court, it's me, and I speak for the others as well. In any court, it's the judge, and y'all know we don't work. We're umpires. So it's the judge, the court coordinator, the bailiff, and the court reporter. Well, the court reporter's salary is already set by us, as y'all know, and I'm not responsible for those high salaries because they were in there before I got here. This is a matter of knowledge. Our court reporters in this county make more than our assistant district attorneys and assistant county attorneys. But anyway, the court coordinators are making $40,000 a year. I think to make them commensurate with what they do in other counties, and to take into consideration that the JP courts get 2 coordinators, we only got 1, is to increase their salary to 45. And I know we talked a lot about that last year, but that's really what we'd like to see done. And
Not all the JPs, Judge, have 2 coordinators.
How many don't? Is there, I mean, just for, presumably they
There
run
are
the
2
same
that do
caseload.
not, and they are paid, all court coordinators for the JP courts are paid considerably less
Right.
than the district court coordinators.
Yes.
And don't get me wrong, every case is important, especially when you're the one that's on the other end of it. And every case is important, but not every case is complicated. And, you got Judge Perryman in a CPS case right now. It's 6 lawyers in one case. We're in an aggravated sexual assault and a continuous sexual assault of a child case where if the defendant's convicted, he could receive a life without parole. I mean, these are high-stakes stuff we're talking about, and we rely on our court coordinators to schedule it all, get people in, and basically run the court for us. Like I said, the judges don't run anything. We just call balls and strikes. It's a coordinator running the court. And then on another note, the bailiff. Our bailiff makes less. Our bailiffs, at least mine does, and I don't know if the other judges made this request, but I am specifically. My bailiff makes $36,000, $36,700 a year. That's considerably less than a starting, and I made this request last year, than a starting basic deputy salary, which I think is 42 and some change, at least now. And so the lowest paid peace officer in the county is responsible for everybody that's in the courthouse, the litigants, the parties, the defendants, the jurors, and and I hate to be this kind of guy, but it's not if, but when. I mean, we just saw what happened in Dallas County at a federal courthouse, and we don't have the kind of security they do, trust me. And so, I just think someone that's, responsible for the security public can trust us to keep secure, that they are the lowest paid law enforcement officer in the county, says something. And I would at least ask that they make what a basic entry-level deputy does. It's not an entry-level position at all.
Historically, it's been a retirement position.
Right.
In
I understand
reality, that's.
Which is not the right way to look at it. And I know you can say, well, you got Ronnie Howard. Well, and Ronnie's deal was he came from me from the DA's office. He came with me. And so, I don't look at that as a retirement position. Certainly, I don't think anybody would look at Ronnie Halbert and think he's a retired guy.
No.
But not only are they responsible for the security, they also have to have professional development. But he's also the backup coordinator. I mean, he answers the phone. He runs the entire jury list for us. The coordinator doesn't have time to do it. So that's Ronnie's secondary job, is he responds to coordinating those who are summoned for jury service in. And what we have to do a lot of is reschedule. And when somebody says, oh, I can't make it, well, that's fine. We'll reschedule you for another day. That way we're not sending out other summons and we're trying to get those people in. He answers phones. He schedules dockets. I mean, he does everything the court coordinator does. And so, but most importantly, I think, really, we're going to entrust the safety and security of our courtrooms to the lowest paid person and not even pay them. I'm not saying they don't have to be the lowest, but at least pay them what an entry-level deputy makes. And if you think about recruitment somewhere down the line, if Ronnie decided to retire or go back in the service with the sheriff's department, how in the world am I going to get a deputy to come over for a lower salary? Unless I find somebody who wants to retire. And and those guys do a great job and gals do, but that shouldn't be, at least publicly, we tell people. You know, we don't want people with that impression. We have retired folks sitting as our bailiffs. Not in today's age.
Right.
And then finally, just a correction to last year's budget. I looked and it said that Ronnie was only receiving certificate pay $500, but he's still getting the.
It should be 1,000.
Right. And so I think that's just a mistake in the budget because they're paying him for that. It just wasn't listed in the budget, and I caught that. And so with that, I'll be glad to answer some questions.
Commissioner Thomas?
Of course, I hadn't really had a chance to dissolve all this, Judge, but I do understand your question, your concern. Got to think about it. You know, have to do some budget. I understand your concerns, for sure.
And I would invite, as I do, if you'll see it, every letter that I send for 12 years now, and I know some of you have, come over and see what we do.
I bet they're like, it's the craziest thing I've ever seen.
I mean, it's organized chaos, but you know what?
It's crazy.
It's hard, and I just don't say this. It's hard stuff. I mean, it's not easy at all. And we're dealing with extremely complicated cases in people's lives. I mean, the people I can't tell you how many times Ronnie's had to physically carry someone out of my courtroom because they were disruptive or threatening. And then the same thing with the coordinators. And so if you come over and just take a look.
Commissioner Tillett?
I'm kind of the same way. I agree with what Commissioner Thomas said. Are some of the bailiffs over in those courts? Are they out that the constables come over to set in, or is that in other courts?
The constables?
Yeah, they don't.
There
There's
was-
one constable that works part-time as a
Right.
bailiff for Judge Coffey, but in the situation, if Ronnie were out sick or something, they can get somebody from the sheriff's department.
Yeah. And the sheriff always does that.
Yeah.
And so basically, when I get a replacement, I'm glad you brought that up. When I get a filler, because Ronnie's a 20-something year plus employee, he gets a lot of vacation, rightfully so. So when he's out, Bodie's always sent somebody over. And I don't know how y'all work that with the money and who it's charged to, but that deputy's making $6,000 more a year than the guy he's replacing, and the guy he's replacing has all the experience. And so it's just, are we paying people or are we paying positions? And I know Commissioner Giesland, you've been working on this salary structure things that you've been hearing, but we should be paying positions, and then we hire people that are qualified for those positions. We shouldn't be paying people. That's always my deal.
Commissioner McKean?
I was just looking, and if we do what we've been thinking about doing over the last several months, your court coordinators will be making, the two lowest ones will be making 41.2, close to 41.2.
Yes, sir.
And Smith County is 41.3.
They have two in each court.
And Angelina County is 40,000, which Angelina, I'm doing them because they got 87,000, just like we got 83 or 4,000. So, I mean, that's what we're working on. We're getting closer. I don't know that we'll be able to do everything you want this time, but I think we're working toward that.
And that's all we can ask for.
And I think we've been diligent the last 4 or 5 months trying to figure out. We know we need some help, but we've only got so many resources we can use to get there. But I think we're working toward it. And I want you to know that we know too.
Commissioner Giesen?
I think the judge knows my position.
Maybe I do.
Well, if you don't, I'll explain it. I think Commissioner McCann clearly stated that I've had concerns about our salary structure in this county prior to being a commissioner. We are farther along through Judge McKinney, if you could tell us, the judge, how many workshops we have had regarding the salary matrix. I know it's at least a half a dozen. We've taken it seriously. Ms. Harris and Lynn and now Haley Beaver have been involved in putting this matrix together, and we're not finished yet. Commissioner Thomas, I think, would share with you that he has concerns. If we go to the matrix, will we be able to afford it 5 years from now, 10 years from now, without raising taxes? Or, and when I say without raising taxes, bear in mind what the legislature did, which starts in next year's budget. Instead of having an 8% cap, which in my 8 years, closest we ever came was 4, keeping our tax rate the same. But the legislature has limited us to 3.5%. And so we have to be cognizant of cost of living going forward that all the employees would expect to be able to receive. And if we get our salaries too high, I don't know how well it's going to be received by the taxpayers that we need to give raises to our employees, and therefore we're going to have to raise the tax rate.
Well, if I may interject.
And maybe they will all run out and vote for that. Maybe.
Well, this 3.5% tax ceiling guarantees that taxing entities will raise their taxes by 3.5% every single fiscal year. That's what that guarantees. I wrote a paper on it.
Oh, I know.
And so it's just an artificial cap. So what you've done, and I know we're going off onto a tangent here, but we've just guaranteed that you're going to continue to raise that tax rate. And what happens to places like Hoffman County where they're exploding? And is it new? Is that on new property valuation, or is that on all?
No, we don't know yet.
So
we don't know.
Right. I agree. And I will say this, that every year that I've come here, I've never got everything I want, but I've always had everything I need, and I appreciate that. But I do invite y'all to come over sometime and see what we do.
I will invite you and your staff to come when it's storming outside to a road and bridge operation so you can see that chaos as well.
But I'm not
I'll
setting
be
your
always happy to have you with me.
But I'm not setting your budget.
2 o'clock in the morning.
I will say this morning, myself and Josh did go and observe what was happening over there this morning. There was 123 out of the 500 called for the court at law number 2, and there was 73 out of the 300 or 350. That's a 24% response rate, roughly, in there to jury summonses. It is 125 is all the rooms can handle, and that's with additional seating. Agreed, very much. When you're having court and having them coming in, those people are very crucial. No one on this court in any shape, form, or fashion
I'd say jury
denies
trial
that.
is much calmer than what a doctor that comes see. I said, they started doing this forms of triplicate. I said, why are they doing that? And I saw the process. That day, those are crazy days. I've been watching Judge Perryman's. I mean, I just sat there thinking, this is nuts. It is.
Judge, to go on,
It is so frustrating. I mean, you made this speech at the chamber luncheon when Judge McKinney and I were there. And you threw these kind of numbers out. And the irony is, Sheriff, you could go and arrest them all. But we don't have enough cells.
You know what I've toyed around with is the idea of just sitting them all at show cause notice and just have them all show up for court if they would, and just kind of read them the riot act. It's not the politically popular thing to do, but it might be the right thing to do. I don't know.
It's just sad.
It is. And I don't know what that postage cost to send all those jury summons out. And we're sending 1,000 out next week for a capital murder trial that's coming up.
it's not just the cost of the mailing, it's the cost of the printing
Right.
of those, and that really dwarfs what the mail-out actually costs, that service of mailing it. So, but Judge, we are working this year to implement salary maintenance matrix. Just to implement it itself is going to cost $179,000 to implement it, to go to the new STEP program. And that is the court's single priority, is that if we can get this implemented, that is priority number one. After that, if we can sure help, we plan on discussing all of those options, but getting that STEP program put in place, because we know we won't have this opportunity again in the near future. Court, feel free if you agree with that. So,
Well, as the judge just said, we estimate, through the help of the ladies I mentioned earlier, 179. And then, of course, if you apply a cost of living increase, that would be on top of that, which would have been in the 300,000 range. And we just don't know at this point, without the values being certified, where we're going to end up with what amount of revenue.
Right.
I think the other thing that we all have to be cognizant of, we implement the STEP plan, that's 179,000. Then we go in and we look at your request. There are other departments, such as the Sheriff's Department, that we know, not at your phrase, we're not looking at the individual, we're looking at the position, that there are positions within the Sheriff's Department need to come up. And there are other doing the same analysis as you have done with the various counties that we have in positions that are underpaid. If we correct all of those, we probably would have enough money to do so. But there will not be enough money to give a cost of living increase. And that would seriously impact the ones that are appropriately paid once they move into the salary matrix. So that is the struggle we're going to have in this budgetary cycle. And I just wanted to share that with you. It's what we're working through and have been concerned about for the last 90 days before we ever started today.
Judge, in those 3 or 4 courts, what would be the total increase?
you talking about just the court coordinators, and because again, I don't even know what their bailiffs make, I need to check. The court coordinators, you're talking, let's see, two county clerk at law of mine, there's four, about 5,000, it's 20,000, and I don't know how much of Maryland's salary is responsible. For all of it, so you're talking $25,000. Minus whatever fringe is on top of that.
Oh, yeah,
Because it's not just-
longevity. Yeah,
right,
it's
well-
just a base salary.
Right, not counting the FICA
Oh,
and
yeah.
everything, I call it fringe up, whatever's on top of that,
ERS.
all that other stuff. And then, so that's what that is. As far as the bailiff, I'm not aware if anybody else is asking for that.
Third.
I just,
Maryland.
my bailiff's
Okay,
the
yeah.
lowest paid
That's
law
right.
enforcement person in the county.
I come up with about 40,000.
That's what I thought.
That's what I come up to, it cost us about 40,000.
You talking about
And
with
that's not in,
everything?
With everything.
to bring all the courts. And like I said, Ms. Rolfs will be a little bit less given we partner.
We're not on Maryland. We pay all of Maryland's
But
salary.
don't we get reimbursed?
Yeah, it has a
I thought
coordinator.
we-
every-
Oh, that's
She
right,
has
every
a-
county has one.
Every county has one. So you're looking at 45,000 to do that for every court.
And have you talked to Judge Moore? I have not, about this cluster court idea with CPS. That would take such a load off our coordinators, and it's going to save us a ton of money, I believe, in indigent defense costs. There's an opportunity right there that I think we don't take advantage of that.
I have not spoken with him since the last judge's meeting.
Okay. I know he's going to check with Judge Charles, but Charles was in the legislature trying to get the judges a raise. But there's an opportunity right there, and I don't know if you all know, is that, if we have the ability to take all our CPS cases and give them to an associate judge that's paid by the state, and their coordinators are paid by the state, instead of all of us having 5, 6 separate dockets a month, where I'm paying a lawyer, paying him $60 an hour in CPS or more.
I'd have to-
Paying a lawyer $60 an hour to sit in my court and wait because I got other CPS lawyers in other courts tied up and we can't move the case, and they're there. We do a cluster court, they're all there at one day, they handle all their cases, and I think it saves a lot of money, I really do. Not that we're trying to get rid of it, but
Right.
from a resource issue, if we don't take advantage of that free help, and it's not free, but it's more diluted free, if you know what I mean.
Well, with the cluster, they have the burden on prosecution. The state does, correct? In that cluster court?
The DA's office folks still handle it, but from a resource issue on their court, they're handling maybe 2 cluster court dockets a month, rather than all of the dockets they have to handle in 5 different courts.
Yeah. I just knew coordinating, as you alluded to, coordinating the different court hearings so you can have attorneys.
They're here twice, that
Yeah.
associate judge is here twice a month, the lawyers are pretty much in there all day, and so you're paying them $60 an hour, sit there for 2 days a month, rather than 5 days a month all over the place.
Just like AG court, where we got it out with the senior citizens building, or
Exactly.
keep all resources free.
Exactly. And it,
Yeah,
I don't know if all the judges are on board, I know Judge Perryman's not, but
Yeah, there was not complete agreement the last time this was discussed.
nor does there have to be.
No, it's true. But I do believe that a consensus of a majority will create us an economy of scale that will help with that. Okay. Anything else for the judge?
Thank you.
Thank you very much.
Appreciate it.
We know you're in the middle of a trial right now. Thank you for coming over.
Thank you.
Okay, Judge Perryman, of course, is in trial. Her discussion was going to be of the same lines as the judge spoke to. They're in agreement that they would like to see if we're capable of doing this, to do it across the board for all the courts. Specifically, they speak for their own court, but they see value in it for all courts. With her being busy, that leaves us an opportunity to go ahead and move through and have Ms. Beaver speak if y'all would like to do that and then go back, but she's not. I thought she was here. There she is. How about we take a 10-minute break and then come back and do that? Sound good?
Yes.
Yeah,
right.
wonderful. Judge?
Yes. with us, and she is going to discuss with us
What line is that on?
what line is that?
Line, yeah.
What's your department number? Pardon?
98,
What?
498.
498.
1,035.
You want to say that again?
1,035.
035. All right. Well, Haley, tell us how the Human Resources Office life is.
It's going good. Now, the reason why you're seeing such a large jump in my budget from what I have for 2019 is because I am going to be trying to take over a lot of stuff from Michael. So with next year, open enrollment will be completely on me, hopefully. Michael, that'll be away from Michael. He's seeing a lot of, during open enrollment, he has to print a lot. So that's where you're seeing the office supplies jump up, and the postage as well. So printing and things like that for open enrollment. My postage also went up because I'm sending COBRA notifications out for every termination and new hire that I see. Also on our office supplies, I would like to order myself a second screen as well as a laptop for open enrollment so I can go and visit each entity and have my laptop with me.
Michael, did y'all have your own laptops
We do.
that y'all
Yes, sir.
use for that purpose? What will be their,
We normally have to, because we all use them. Sometimes we borrow from IT or actually from the audit office as well, so I see a use for her to have a laptop.
okay?
But basically, that's where you're seeing our big jump is in hopes of getting the second screen and the laptop and then printing for open enrollment next year as well. And then the sending out of the COBRA notification. on the
Is
postage.
office supplies is not the proper location for the laptop?
That would be my request, and she doesn't have that one, we can add.
Continue.
As far as conference and education, there's some conferences that I would like to attend next year for human resources. I am attending one that is free this year, in July, but it is free. The only thing that it was costing us is the overnight stay in San Marcos. But yes, I would like to continue to go out.
And that conference relates to what subject matter?
Human resources.
Human resources. What other, with the increase, what other conferences?
A lot of, so like Michael was telling me, a lot of other counties, their treasurer department is the human resources. So they also touch on the treasurer's conferences on human resources. So if there's one that I can attend with Michael as well, I would be glad to.
Treasurers Association offers up quite a bit of human resource conferences.
And they normally have about a half a day at our conferences with nothing but human resource. And I was telling her that's really a lot of good information and she should probably try to attend. Now, I don't see a whole lot of human resource conferences. But there are some. Like I said, there's one coming up in San Marcos. They're very fortunate that that one actually is free this year. Normally it's not. And then also there's another one that's coming up in Tyler here pretty
Yeah.
quick as well, because I'm signed up for it as
Didn't
well.
fit that.
Yeah.
Now, the copier expense that we're seeing, the $1,000, we had talked about maybe getting me a larger copy machine that can do a higher capacity versus just the copier printer that I have on my desk for in terms of open enrollment.
And Marie, will you speak to that machine that she has, because we brought that up from veterans? Is it not capable of,
Scanning and
It can scan and print, yes.
do all that.
but it's not, it doesn't have the capability that she needs?
I mean, she can use ours anytime, but I don't know about what any of these are compared to that machine.
It's just what Michael was saying is that it's a lot of printing, and he doesn't think that it would take longer to use the machine I am using now than it would be to have a larger copier. Michael, is that what we were?
Well, she's gonna produce during open enrollment. And I realize this year we're gonna handle that, but I can't tell you how much printing that she does. We do a numerous amount of printing just for employees. If everything was, they could do it online, and they would do it online, it'd be a little different story, but that's one reason why we have so many print copies. I mean, you're constantly printing. There's somebody constantly walking in her office as she experiences today, that she's having to make copies of, whether it be an address change, because you have to have all that, and we scan that into their personnel files, and she's learning all that process that we've done and always do, so.
My question.
I don't really know. I don't know exactly. I know that if I need to print something with 100 pages, it's gonna get done. I don't think that hers is processing that way, but.
Anne Marie?
I mean, I don't know what all they print or why they would, during open enrollment, of course, she can always use ours. We never mind that, but I don't know what would be regularly.
Well, correct me if I'm wrong, but when I look at the machine that she has, the only difference is that the bigger machines have 4 more drawers worth of paper. It seems like it's the same copier set in a different.
Probably. I don't know what the speed is either.
I don't know that either.
Is your,
But I don't
I'll tell you more about the one she uses. I don't.
On a regular basis, when somebody comes in, you just have to print 4 or 5 pages at a time, don't you?
Yes, unless it's a new hire, then it's probably about a 40 to 50 page.
So it does okay on that?
It does okay on that, yes. It's
All right, so whenever we start
the
printing
high
the,
capacity for the open enrollment is what it's.
and then when we get to that point, I know it's a lot easier to have it in your office, especially when that employee's sitting there and you're waiting to handle the stuff, which makes it fine. But when we start printing stuff for open enrollment, it wouldn't be that big a deal to print it on the audit department's printer, would it?
so during open enrollment, where were you printing at?
I have a printer.
He has a copier.
That will process all of that.
He has a
And mine's running quite a bit during.
bigger box.
Of course, I don't mind either if that's what we need to do.
Okay.
Is that a network printer that he has?
It's a Xerox lease machine just like hers.
Yeah.
It's just one of the larger boxes that has multiple paper sizes, multiple paper trays, whereas that one has 2.
His has one.
Just has 1 paper tray.
Yes.
Oh, no.
Okay.
Only thing I'll say, Judge, is if the unit that's in her office does not handle confidential copies that's being made for employees while they're in her office, if it won't handle that, it needs to be upgraded. As far as bulk printing which is all generic copies that'll be used during open enrollment. It can go to a network printer that can kick them out if it's in.
Like, I'll go to a network printer and send it over as a secure print, and then you go there and do your code.
So,
Now, tell us about this experiment of the HR office, since we've got a little time here.
What do you mean?
Give us a rundown. What's happening?
Oh,
What surprised you? What?
it surprised me a lot that we're not drug testing. When we very first get a new hire, I would think working for the county, that would be a big liability that we should not be taking. So that really surprised me. Another thing is the amount of turnover we have, not to point anyone out, but in the sheriff's office, the amount of turnover we have. And like, I don't know why we're having so much turnover. I'm sure it's probably the salary. A lot of sheriff's deputies are leaving and going to other places. I see that a lot. So,
When you say deputies, be sure you
well,
differentiate between
Maybe-
deputies and jail.
jailers, I guess it's the detention officers are the ones that are leaving and going to elsewhere to, I've seen a lot go to Kaufman County, and a lot have went to Waxahachie as well. Just see a lot of turnover. I'm shocked by that.
What about foot traffic?
Quite a bit. I've received quite a bit of, whether it be department heads or just employees in general coming in and having, just minor changes to their insurance, dropping or adding a dependent. Seeing a lot of that. I'm seeing people go from full-time to part-time and full-time to part-time. So I'm seeing some of that as well. Lots of different changes that they'll come and ask, or they'll come and ask me, department heads will, and ask what I think on a subject as far as what they need to do to correct an employee's behavior type thing. Okay. So it's just lots of foot traffic. People are really starting to want to come in and complain a lot. If we're going to be honest. I have a 30-page complaint that I received today.
How?
Okay.
So just lots of complaints that I've received. It's to be expected. I'm human resources. You want them to come to me. So, but yes, of course, we'll speak on that later, but.
How do you expect to handle open enrollment as a one-man department?
It's going to be a hard. I'm hoping to rely on Nikki, who I think we spoke to be my backup. I'm hoping to be able to rely on Nikki as well as Michael a little bit. No, I'm taking it from him, but open enrollment by myself will probably be very difficult because, Michael, how many do you have that help you?
We normally
Five?
have about 5 people.
5 people that help.
It's not going to be that she's going to be able to handle that. I know that, I don't want to talk out of turn here, but we've also talked a little about going online. That'd be a huge improvement. I'm all about that.
We
but-
sat through a conference call the other day about how there is a possibility that it could be online. Whether our employees will get online and do that is something we.
I don't know.
Yeah, it was through TAC. I did.
I really liked it.
Kind of.
It is
They
something
barely
for
glanced over it,
implementing.
so it is free.
It would
It's
be
a-
a lot
yeah.
easier.
It's a free service that TAC offers.
Yeah.
And they kind of breezed over it in the conference call the other day. So of course I would want to talk to Santos and get more information about that, who's our rep. Get more information, but if it's a free service and it would save the county money with not having to print that many documents, then I think it would be beneficial. It's just making sure every employee will log on and do their part. And we're not having to go and babysit to
My theory
their
with
employee.
that is that every open enrollment we experience and we go through, I gotta go and talk to my spouse, or, well, okay, you're gonna have to come back then because we have to have this information. And this actually gives everybody the opportunity to sit at home with their spouse and make these decisions and do these kind of things. And I've always kind of thought that, but as Haley said, we sit through a program the other day with TAC, and it's something they're going to be offering, so I think it's something we can definitely look at. I would say just about every employee probably does have access to a laptop or a computer or something like that at home. It's not something they actually have to do in the office or at work. They can do it from their home, so that's just something I like it, but it's just me. When you get to that point, you're going to definitely eliminate the people that you need to help at work open enrollment. Open enrollment's a pretty large process when you look at, we average, through open enrollment, approximately, you might as well say 400 people, just about, give or take. So, I know we got average 375 full-time employees, but we can start putting there that and all your part-time people that actually come in and want to make changes to their retirement, because part-time people get retirement, so you have to see everybody. It's a lot of paperwork to process, and it's a lot of paperwork to get in the system. And that's the way it has to happen right now.
Any other questions?
This may be a question for later on during open enrollment, but I'm just going to go back to last year. We have a couple employees that have special kinds of medicine that are now not covered by
Navitus.
whatever we have. So how do we go about helping them employees?
So what we do now, if I'm notified about it, I'm going to ask you to contact your doctor to see if there is another medication that they can go on. Because just for an example, most of the time, Navitus, if you'll keep an eye open, they will send you and say, hey, we're not going to cover this, but we'll cover this. And you can carry that list actually to your doctor, family doctor, or whoever you're seeing, and they will see if they can make that change. And everybody I've talked to about that's happened. That change has happened. So if you didn't get a list of something that your doctor is not covering, if you'll let me know, I'll contact Navitus and see if I can get that produced for you. They're not going to give me a whole lot of information because of the HIPAA laws, and a lot of people don't understand that. But I can't get a whole lot of answers for you, but I can try and help you.
Anyone else?
I just wanted to say thank you, Haley, for what you brought to the table the short time you've been here. You've done some deals for me, and the guys were very impressed. And not take anything away from Nikki and Michael and Danny, but you've done a wonderful job, and I'm glad you're here.
Thank you.
I'm definitely glad. That's why I asked for her last year, or someone.
When I came in 2013, I couldn't believe we didn't have an HR person. That probably blew me away more than anything, and when I became part of the Commissioner's Court. So it's a real need, and you're doing a great job, so.
Thank you.
Well, thank you, Nick. Appreciate it very much.
Thank you.
All right. Well, we're to a point that is everyone that was signed up to speak today. We can go back on to revenues, or we can call it quits for today. It's kind of up to y'all.